Since time immemorial, humanity has always been drawn to symbols that seem to transcend time and space. One such symbol is the enigmatic all-seeing eye, an icon that arouses curiosity and at the same time raises profound questions. After all, why does something as simple as an eye, often represented within a triangle or surrounded by rays of light, seem to hold so much power and meaning? This symbol appears in the world's oldest cultures, and even today, printed on banknotes and in various works of contemporary art. But what does it truly represent? Many see the all-seeing eye as a reference to the divine, to the eternal watchman who observes and knows everything. It awakens a sense of constant presence, as if there were a greater force monitoring human actions. For others, however, this symbol carries a load of mystery and even danger, associated with ideas of control and conspiracy. No matter which side you find yourself on in this discussion, the fact is that the all-seeing eye has always been present, in one way or another, in the most important narratives of human history. What's intriguing is that the all-seeing eye does not belong to a single culture or religion. It appears in ancient Egyptian civilizations with the Eye of Horus, a symbol of protection and power. We also find it in Hindu and Buddhist traditions, linked to spiritual wisdom and the third eye of consciousness. And in the Christian tradition, it is often related to God's omniscience, the one who observes every corner of the universe. What do all these traditions have in common? They use the eye as a powerful metaphor for perception beyond the physical, as if it represented the ability to see the invisible, the hidden, that which is beyond appearances. But what makes the all-seeing eye such a lasting and universal symbol? Could it be a representation of fear or hope? Some may argue that the eye arouses in us a primitive instinct of being watched, as if we were constantly under judgment. However, there is a higher interpretation. The eye could symbolize the awakening of our own consciousness. When we talk about the all-seeing eye, perhaps we are not only referring to something external, an observing force out there, but rather to something internal, a latent ability within us that allows us to see the truth beyond the illusions of the material world. This symbol also carries with it the idea of vigilance, divine vigilance, which is not punitive, but protective, guiding the steps of those who seek the truth. However, in the modern world, the all-seeing eye has also come to be associated with control. Just look at the conspiracies that surround it. For many, the eye at the top of the pyramid on the $1 bill of the United States is not a simple design detail, but rather a clear sign that there is a secret elite controlling the reins of power. Could this symbol hide a deep secret about our world? Or is it inviting us to look beyond the surfaces and find the true meaning of life? In fact, the all-seeing eye raises a universal question that resonates deeply within the human soul. Are we being watched? And if we are, by whom? God, a cosmic force, or perhaps by ourselves at a higher level of consciousness? The feeling of being constantly watched can both scare us and inspire us. It scares us because it interferes with our need for freedom and autonomy. But, at the same time, it inspires us because it reminds us that there is something greater than us, something that can guide us in the pursuit of truth. In this first step of our journey, we begin to unravel the mysteries of this fascinating symbol. The all-seeing eye, in its simplicity, carries with it layers of meaning that go beyond what the eyes can see. Now, the question that remains is, are you ready to see what the eye has to reveal? The symbol you see displayed around you may be more than just a simple ornament or artistic detail. It may be calling you on a journey of self-discovery, where the hidden truth begins to emerge for those who dare to look beyond. The history of the all-seeing eye dates back to very ancient times, crossing cultures and civilizations far apart from each other. To understand its deep meaning, it is necessary to go back to the first historical records of this symbol. And one of the earliest representations is found in ancient Egypt, in the famous Eye of Horus. This symbol, also known as Udiat, was a powerful amulet of protection, health, and power, which the ancient Egyptians believed had the ability to ward off evil and restore harmony. The Eye of Horus is closely linked to Egyptian mythology, where it is told that the god Horus, son of Isis and Osiris, had one of his eyes torn out in a battle with Set, the god of chaos. The eye was restored and became a symbol of healing and rebirth. The interesting thing is that, in Egypt, the eye was not just a symbol of protection. It represented the ability to see beyond the physical world. The Eye of Horus was connected to a deep spiritual knowledge and to the connection with the gods. The ancient Egyptians believed that the eye had the power to see the invisible, to access spiritual dimensions beyond our limited perception. This made the symbol not just a representation of physical strength, but also of spiritual strength. As we leave Egypt and move on to other cultures, we find the symbolism of the eye present in various ways. In India, for example, the concept of a third eye is fundamental in Hindu and Buddhist spiritual traditions. The third eye, known as Ajna, is the center of intuition and spiritual perception. Unlike the physical eyes, which are focused on the material world, the third eye is the one that sees what is beyond, spiritual truths, the path to enlightenment. Here we see a clear connection between the all-seeing eye and the concept of spiritual awakening, something that is not limited to one religion, but is a common theme in many mystical traditions. Moving forward in time, we find the all-seeing eye emerging in Christian tradition. In Christianity, it is often associated with the omniscience of God, the supreme being who observes and knows all. The eye is placed within a triangle, which symbolizes the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This image is commonly referred to as the Eye of Providence and appears in churches, cathedrals, and religious manuscripts, symbolizing divine vigilance and protection. The triangle surrounding the eye reinforces the idea of balance, harmony, and divine truth. In this context, the eye not only observes but acts as a guide for believers, reminding them of God's constant presence in their lives. However, the symbol also found a peculiar place in the secret societies that emerged in the modern age, such as Freemasonry. In Freemasonry, the all-seeing eye is also known as the Eye of Providence and is used as a symbol of spiritual and moral vigilance. The Freemasons believe that this eye represents the great architect of the universe, a divine figure who observes human actions and judges according to their values. For the members of Freemasonry, the eye symbolizes the pursuit of truth, wisdom, and morality. The Eye of Providence was widely used during the American Revolution, particularly in the iconography associated with the birth of the United States. It can be seen on the $1 American bill, positioned at the top of an unfinished pyramid. For many, this is not just a symbol of divine surveillance, but also of a fresh start, a new world order, where power and wisdom will guide the nation's development. The incomplete pyramid under the eye can be interpreted as the ongoing construction of the country, which is always under the supervision of a higher force. Even so, the roots of the symbol keep returning to their esoteric origins. The eye within the triangle can also be found in cultures that practice alchemy and hermeticism. These traditions believed that the all-seeing eye symbolized cosmic consciousness, the union between the divine and the human. Here, once again, the eye is not merely an external observer, but also a symbol of introspection, of looking inward and understanding truths that go beyond the visible. For centuries, the symbol has evolved, being adapted and reinterpreted by various cultures. What began as a spiritual representation in Egypt became a universal icon, associated with both protection and control. And, just as in Egypt, where the eye of Horus protected and healed, in other cultures it continued to be a force of power, observation, and transformation. The question that remains is, how can a symbol be so universal and at the same time so mysterious? The answer may lie in the fact that the all-seeing eye speaks to a profound part of our psyche. It touches on an essential aspect of human experience, the idea that there is something greater, something that transcends what we can see and understand. This something watches over us, but also guides us, protects us, and awakens us to a larger reality. The all-seeing eye, therefore, traverses a long path in human history, connecting peoples and traditions that, at first glance, seem to be separated. But what unites them is the common desire to understand the invisible, to explore the unknown, and to seek the truth that, often, is beyond the reach of our physical eyes. In the next step of this journey, we will delve even deeper into the esoteric meaning of this symbol and how it connects us to universal consciousness and wisdom. As we delve deeper into the meaning of the all-seeing eye, it becomes clear that this symbol goes far beyond a simple visual ornament. In the field of esotericism, it is a portal to understanding universal wisdom and the consciousness that permeates the cosmos. Many mystics, scholars, and spiritualists consider the all-seeing eye as a representation of divine consciousness, which leads us to reflect on the essence of perception beyond the physical world and how this is intimately linked to spiritual awakening. To begin with, it's important to understand that esotericism sees the eye as a symbol of the soul itself. It not only perceives the external world, but also reflects what is within us, our deepest truths and hidden potentials. In various traditions, the all-seeing eye symbolizes the idea that we are all connected to a universal source of wisdom, a source that can be accessed by those who seek to transcend the boundaries of the ordinary mind. This symbol is often associated with the idea of awakening, where the individual, upon reaching a higher level of consciousness, begins to see reality as it is, and not just through the distorted lens of their limited perceptions. The connection between the eye and universal wisdom appears particularly strong in Western esoteric philosophy, where it is seen as the third eye, the eye of the mind, of perception beyond the visible. This concept has deep roots in ancient Egypt and India, but also appears in Hermetic and Gnostic traditions. The third eye is associated with the ability to see beyond the material world, reaching spiritual truth. In this context, the all-seeing eye is not an external observer, but rather a manifestation of our own potential for wisdom and mental clarity. In Hinduism, the third eye is often associated with the pineal gland, located in the center of the brain, and is considered the seat of the soul and the connection point between the human being and spiritual energies. The awakening of this inner eye, or ajna, allows the practitioner to access higher levels of perception, including the vision of spiritual dimensions. Similarly, in Buddhism, the third eye is linked to the path to enlightenment, where the practitioner begins to see reality free of illusions, understanding the true nature of being. The symbolism of the all-seeing eye reminds us, therefore, that wisdom and consciousness are not merely acquired externally, but are awakened within us. Esoteric schools teach that true knowledge, the one that leads to enlightenment, cannot be found in books or in external speeches, but through direct experience and inner vision. This concept is also reinforced by Christian mystical traditions, where the eye of the soul is mentioned as the way in which a human being can perceive God and divine truth. Jesus himself mentions, in the Gospel of Matthew, that the eyes are the lamp of the body. If your eyes are good, your whole body will be full of light. This passage resonates with the concept of inner purity and the ability to see beyond the veil of illusions. However, the eye also carries a duality in esotericism. It can be both a symbol of enlightenment and vigilance. From the moment we are awakened, we become more aware of ourselves and our surroundings. But we may also feel constantly observed, not by an external force, but by our own awakened consciousness, which is always attentive to our actions, thoughts, and intentions. For many, this duality can be uncomfortable, as it confronts the idea that nothing remains hidden, not even from oneself. The esoteric eye is a reminder that, in seeking wisdom, we also expose ourselves to the truth about who we are, with all our flaws and potentialities. In Western esotericism, particularly in the traditions of alchemy and Rosicrucianism, the all-seeing eye is associated with the quest for the philosopher's stone, which symbolizes spiritual transformation and the pursuit of perfection. In this case, the eye represents the ultimate goal of the alchemical process, the awakening of divine consciousness within each individual, where the supreme truth is finally revealed. The alchemist, who initially seeks to transform lead into gold, discovers, throughout his journey, that the true gold is spiritual wisdom and understanding. The influence of this symbol in esotericism cannot be underestimated. It appears not only as a representation of something greater, but as a guide, a reminder that truth is always available to those who dare to see beyond appearances. The all-seeing eye is not passive. It challenges us to open our own eyes, to see what we have been avoiding, and to confront the unseen realities that shape our destiny. As a human being begins to awaken spiritually, they discover that their perception of the world changes radically. What once seemed fixed and unchangeable is now seen as a fleeting illusion, and the eye, in both the literal and figurative sense, begins to perceive the subtler truths of the universe. This process of awakening is often described as painful, as it involves the deconstruction of old beliefs and paradigms, but it is also deeply liberating, as it allows us to access wisdom that transcends the intellect. The all-seeing eye, in this sense, is a symbol of hope. It reminds us that no matter how chaotic or confusing the world may seem, there is an underlying order, a truth that can be accessed by those who sincerely seek it. Through this eye, the human being reconnects to the source of universal wisdom, and it is from this connection that he finds true purpose and clarity in his journey. Throughout history, the all-seeing eye has been adopted by various organizations and movements operating in a covert manner, including secret societies. These societies, particularly the Freemasonry and the Illuminati, have sparked debates and conspiracy theories around the world, and the use of the eye symbol by these organizations has fueled many imaginations. But what is the real meaning of the all-seeing eye in the context of these societies? And why has it become such a central symbol for them? Freemasonry is, undoubtedly, one of the most well-known secret societies for using the all-seeing eye in its rituals and symbols. In the Masonic context, the eye is often described as the eye of providence, or the great architect of the universe. For the Masons, this symbol represents the constant presence of a divine force that observes everything. It is not about surveillance power in a negative sense, but rather a superior consciousness that guides and illuminates the path of the initiates. The eye, in this case, symbolizes the human desire to achieve the highest knowledge and wisdom, and Freemasonry teaches that this knowledge can only be acquired through a sincere search for the truth. Masonic symbolism is rich in metaphors linked to construction and architecture, and the all-seeing eye fits perfectly within this context. Masons refer to God as the great architect of the universe, and the eye is a representation of this architect, the one who sees all plans and all works being carried out. In their ritualism, Masons believe they are participating in a spiritual construction, elevating themselves to new levels of understanding and morality. The eye, therefore, is a symbol that, As we build our lives and our ethics, we are always under the gaze of the divine creator, who guides our actions and our choices. On the other hand, the Illuminati, a society shrouded even more in mystery and myths, also adopted the all-seeing eye as one of their main symbols. Founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, the Order of the Illuminati aimed to combat superstition, obscurantism, and the influence of the Church in the political and social life of the time. The Illuminati saw themselves as bearers of a new light, a light of reason and knowledge that could enlighten humanity. The all-seeing eye was a perfect symbol to represent this pursuit of total knowledge and the clear vision of the hidden truths that governed the world. Unlike Freemasonry, which sees the eye as a symbol of divine vigilance and morality, the Illuminati viewed the symbol as a representation of the human power to observe and understand reality in its entirety. For them, the eye was a metaphor for the power that knowledge has to reveal what is hidden. The order believed that, through access to knowledge and science, it would be possible to control the world's destinies. This helped fuel many of the conspiracy theories that surround the Illuminati to this day. The eye, in this context, becomes not only a symbol of wisdom, but also of control, leading many to believe that the Illuminati were secretly striving to rule the world from their hidden networks. The all-seeing eye also appears on the famous $1 bill of the United States, above an unfinished pyramid, accompanied by the words, "Annuit coeptis," which can be translated as, "He, God, favors our undertakings." This symbol has been associated with Freemasonry, and in some more extreme theories, the Illuminati. The incomplete pyramid suggests that the construction of something larger is still in progress, and the eye above it observes this construction. This detail has raised speculations that the symbol on the dollar bill is an indication that a secret elite is behind the world order, watching and manipulating global events. However, it's important to remember that many of the associations between the all-seeing eye and secret societies may be nothing more than conspiracy theories that have multiplied over the centuries. Indeed, the eye is a powerful symbol, and its use in Masonic rituals or historical documents, such as the dollar bill, can be explained by its connection to ideas of divine surveillance, wisdom, and protection. Most historians agree that the presence of the all-seeing eye in Masonic iconography and Illuminati symbols is more related to principles of seeking knowledge and truth than to a global control agenda. However, secret societies have always sparked public curiosity precisely because they operate under the veil of mystery. And the all-seeing eye, with its ability to represent both enlightenment and surveillance, is a symbol that inevitably becomes a target of suspicion. After all, if something or someone is constantly watching us, it can generate both security and fear. In the case of conspiracy theories, the fear of being controlled by invisible forces generates a continuous distrust towards symbols like this. It's worth noting that the very idea of secret societies is often misunderstood. Freemasonry, for example, despite its ritualistic secrecy, is an organization that promotes values such as fraternity, charity, and the pursuit of spiritual truth. The use of the all-seeing eye within this tradition is, ultimately, a reminder for Freemasons that they should always act with integrity and morality, as they are under the watchful eye of the Creator. The Illuminati, although much less understood and more shrouded in legends, also had enlightenment and the idea of bringing the light of knowledge to humanity as their foundation. Therefore, the all-seeing eye, in the context of these societies, is a symbol of surveillance, yes, but also of enlightenment and awakening. It reminds us that we are being watched, not necessarily by a controlling entity, but by the very truth we seek, by the consciousness we are developing. For those who venture on the spiritual path, this eye is a guide, always present, pointing to the wisdom that is available to all who have the courage to see beyond appearances. While many traditions and secret societies use the symbol of the all-seeing eye in contexts related to power and surveillance, one of its deepest meanings is tied to spiritual awakening and the development of consciousness. In various cultures and esoteric currents, the all-seeing eye is associated with the so-called third eye, the center of human spiritual perception. This connection goes beyond the physical and leads us to an understanding of the role of consciousness in our journey towards truth and enlightenment. The concept of a third eye is particularly prominent in Eastern spiritual traditions, especially in Hinduism and Buddhism. In both systems, the third eye is associated with the sixth chakra, known as ajna in Sanskrit, which means to perceive or to command. This energy center is considered the gateway to higher consciousness, allowing the individual to access spiritual dimensions and realities that are beyond the five physical senses. This inner eye is seen as the central point of intuition, inner wisdom, and perception beyond the veil of appearances. In this context, the all-seeing eye is a representation of the spiritual power that resides within each of us, waiting to be awakened. One of the most intriguing aspects of the connection between the third eye and the all-seeing eye lies in its relationship with the pineal gland, a small gland located in the center of the brain between the two hemispheres. Since ancient times, the pineal gland has been considered the seat of the soul and the point of communication between the human being and the divine. Descartes, the famous French philosopher, referred to the pineal gland as the seat of the soul, believing it was the intersection point between the mind and the body. Although this notion has been heavily debated over the centuries, many spiritualists and mystics continue to believe that the pineal gland plays a fundamental role in the development of higher consciousness. The pineal gland, in its biological function, is responsible for the production of melatonin, a hormone that regulates sleep and wake cycles. However, in esoteric traditions, it is seen as much more than that. It is believed that when the pineal gland is activated, it allows the individual to see beyond the physical world, awakening their third eye, and enabling them to access deeper levels of spiritual perception and understanding. The all-seeing eye, then, becomes not just an external symbol, but a representation of the internal potential that each human being has to achieve enlightenment. In meditation and yoga practices, the work of awakening the third eye is directly linked to the development of concentration and introspection. Through practices such as deep meditation, breath control, pranayama, and visualization, practitioners are able to stimulate the ajna chakra and the pineal gland, allowing them to access higher states of consciousness. These states are described as moments of total clarity, where the truth of the universe reveals itself without the interference of illusions created by the human mind. The all-seeing eye, in this sense, symbolizes the ability to see beyond the limitations imposed by material reality. Another important point in the discussion about the awakening of consciousness and the third eye is the relationship with the perception of reality. Many who follow spiritual paths assert that, as the third eye is awakened, the individual begins to perceive the true nature of reality, which is often described as illusory or temporary. In Hindu philosophy, this idea is called Maya, the illusion that keeps us trapped in the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. The awakening of the third eye allows us to see beyond this illusion and understand the fundamental unity of all things. These ideas resonate deeply with the esoteric concept of the all-seeing eye. When we look at the eye, we are not merely observing something external. We are being called to open our own internal eyes, to see the truth that lies beyond appearances, and to seek enlightenment within ourselves. The all-seeing eye reminds us that spiritual truth is not found outside, but within each one of us, waiting to be discovered. However, this spiritual awakening often comes with challenges. The opening of the third eye can be an intense experience, as it reveals truths about ourselves and the world that we are not always ready to face. Many who go through this experience report an initial feeling of discomfort, as if they were being confronted with their own shadows and fears. This phase is crucial for spiritual growth, as it is through this confrontation with our limitations and illusions that we can begin to transcend them and achieve a higher consciousness. The third eye, or the all-seeing eye, is also often associated with intuition. As we develop this center of perception, we begin to trust more in our own inner wisdom and less on external information. What once seemed cloudy or confusing starts to become clear, and decisions are made with a confidence based on a direct connection with the truth. This type of clarity is what many spiritualists seek, as it allows the person to live in a way more aligned with their deepest values and the purpose of their soul. In summary, the all-seeing eye, when connected to the awakening of consciousness and the third eye, becomes a symbol of inner transformation. It represents the latent potential within all of us to see beyond the world's illusions and awaken to a greater, deeper, and more truthful reality. It is a reminder that the spiritual journey is a journey of vision, not of seeing with the physical eyes, but of perceiving with the eyes of the soul. The awakening of the third eye puts us in touch with universal truth and allows us to see the entirety of the cosmos, as well as our role in it. This connection with the third eye and the pineal gland makes the all-seeing eye a deeply powerful symbol, not just for spiritual traditions, but also for all those seeking truth beyond surfaces. Awakening this inner vision gives us the ability to live with more wisdom, compassion, and clarity, connecting us directly to the divine source that observes all and knows all. As time has progressed, the meaning of the all-seeing eye has transformed, gaining new interpretations, especially in the modern world. The symbol, which was once associated with spiritual awakening, wisdom, and divine protection, began to be seen from a darker perspective. Today, for many people, the all-seeing eye is not just a symbol of spiritual vigilance, but also of control, oppressive power, and constant monitoring. This shift in perception reflects contemporary concerns about the loss of privacy and the increasing sense of being watched all the time, especially in an increasingly invasive digital age. One of the reasons for this shift in interpretation is directly related to the presence of the all-seeing eye in conspiracy theories, where it is associated with the idea of a secret elite controlling the world's fate in secrecy. These theories gained momentum with the rising popularity of the Illuminati as an alleged group manipulating governments and global economies for their own benefit. For conspiracy theorists, the all-seeing eye, especially in the form it appears at the top of the pyramid on the $1 bill of the United States, is visible proof that this secret elite is attentive to everything that happens, always watching, always controlling. This narrative of control is deeply linked to the contemporary fear of surveillance. We live in an era where technology, with its security cameras, satellites, and tracking systems, seems to be always watching us. People have come to fear that, just like the all-seeing eye, the government, large corporations, and even global organizations are monitoring every move, every interaction, every choice we make. This digital surveillance is seen by many as a form of control, where those who hold power use the collected information to influence, manipulate, and ultimately control society. The transition of the all-seeing eye from a spiritual symbol to a symbol of oppression can be traced back to the early 20th century, when ideas of government surveillance began to become more prevalent. The famous dystopian novel by George Orwell, 1984, captured this sense of omnipresent control with the figure of the Big Brother, who is always watching. Although Orwell's Big Brother is not explicitly described as the all-seeing eye, the concept of an omniscient authority, monitoring all aspects of people's lives, directly resonates with the symbolism of the eye. Since then, the all-seeing eye has come to be associated with this fear of losing autonomy and personal privacy. Furthermore, the exponential growth of the internet and social networks has intensified this feeling of being constantly watched. Every click, every online interaction, every purchase, everything is monitored, tracked, and turned into valuable data. For many, this reality creates a sensation of living in a sort of digital panopticon, a modern version of the prison theorized by philosopher Jeremy Bentham, where prisoners are watched by an invisible guardian. The difference now is that the guardian is not just a distant figure. It's in our devices, in the algorithms that control what we see and what we consume. The all-seeing eye, in this context, has become a symbol of the loss of privacy and the increase in control over people's lives. The fear of control goes beyond digital surveillance. In the realm of conspiracy theories, the all-seeing eye is often connected to the New World Order, a supposed conspiracy to establish a global authoritarian government. Theorists believe that symbols such as the eye on the dollar bill or in modern architecture and art are clues that a secret elite is implementing a plan to control the world. This type of narrative appeals to the basic human fear of being subjugated by an invisible and uncontrollable force. Even though many of these theories lack a solid factual basis, they are widely accepted by an increasingly distrustful public of governments, institutions, and corporations. This widespread distrust creates the perfect environment for the all-seeing eye to continue being seen as a symbol of oppression. What was once a symbol of spiritual enlightenment has now become a constant reminder of the power others can have over our lives, often without our consent or even our knowledge. However, not everyone views the all-seeing eye through this negative lens. There are those who argue that the symbol can still be a guide to self-awareness. If we look at the eye not as an external entity that controls us, but as a reflection of our own inner vigilance, the symbol can be reinterpreted. The idea that we are being watched, not by a secret elite, but by our own consciousness, can help us live in a more integral and mindful way. In this sense, the all-seeing eye transforms into a tool for self-reflection, a reminder that, even when we are not being watched by others, we should live in accordance with our highest principles and values. This modern duality between oppressive surveillance and enlightening self-awareness shows how the meaning of the all-seeing eye has changed and continues to evolve. However, the fear of control, especially in a world where privacy is becoming increasingly rare, still prevails in many contemporary interpretations. The challenge lies in how we choose to interpret this symbol. It can be a warning about the dangers of unchecked surveillance or a call to awaken our own inner consciousness. As the all-seeing eye has become a multifaceted symbol in the modern world, it's important to remember that the true power of this symbol lies in how we, as individuals, choose to use it. We can view it as a symbol of oppression and fear, or we can use it as a tool for self-awareness and enlightenment. Regardless of interpretation, the all-seeing eye will continue to resonate with those seeking to better understand the dynamics between power, control, and freedom in an increasingly connected and observed world. The all-seeing eye has been used throughout the centuries to represent much more than surveillance and control. For many, it symbolizes spiritual awakening and the pursuit of truth that transcends the illusions of the physical world. When we look at the eye from this perspective, it becomes a guide, a sort of spiritual compass, helping us navigate through the labyrinth of human existence, illuminating the path to truth and connection with the divine. The spiritual journey has always been characterized by the desire to see beyond the surface, to transcend what is evident and dive into the unknown. The all-seeing eye, in this context, represents the ability to see beyond appearances, to perceive what is hidden in the shadows of reality. The process of spiritual awakening can be compared to opening one's eyes to a new way of seeing the world, where the observer connects with a deeper and clearer perception, capable of identifying the true motivations and forces behind everyday events. In spiritual traditions, the symbol of the eye is often associated with divine wisdom. It is the symbol of the great observer, or the witness, the one who sees all, not in the sense of an oppressive control, but of a full and loving awareness that is present in all things. By connecting with this concept, the all-seeing eye reminds us that we are always accompanied by this universal presence, a force that guides us towards the truth and a deeper understanding of who we truly are. Many who tread the spiritual path report that, at the moment of awakening, there is a kind of unmasking of the world. What once seemed solid, concrete and definite, suddenly reveals itself as a superficial layer, hiding the true reality. This phenomenon is described in various traditions as the tearing of the veil of illusion. In Hinduism, this veil is called Maya, and the process of fully seeing it, of transcending its illusions, is considered the path to enlightenment. The all-seeing eye, then, symbolizes this ability to see the truth behind the illusion, to realize that physical reality is not all that exists. The eye, in this context, also reminds us of the importance of introspection and internal observation. Often, we are so focused on the external world, on the challenges and distractions of everyday life, that we lose connection with what truly matters, our inner self. The all-seeing eye, when understood as a symbol of spiritual awareness, invites us to redirect our gaze inward, to observe our own motivations, thoughts, and emotions. It calls us to be witnesses to ourselves, to perceive how our thought patterns shape our reality, and to take responsibility for our own spiritual growth. The search for truth is, ultimately, the search for ourselves. When the all-seeing eye guides us on this path, it shows us that the answers we so desperately seek outside of ourselves are, in fact, within. The journey to find the universal truth is, simultaneously, a journey to discover who we are at our deepest essence. The eye reminds us that truth is not something that can be imposed or discovered only through external teachings. It must be experienced, felt, and understood intuitively. It is knowledge that arises from within when we are ready to see. Many spiritualists believe that the all-seeing eye is a representation of the divine eye, the eye of God that watches and guides us. Not in the sense of a force that judges and punishes, but of a compassionate presence that accompanies us throughout our journey of evolution. This idea of a divine eye appears in several religions and traditions, including Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism. In Christianity, for example, the eye is associated with God's omniscience, the supreme being who sees everything, but also offers love and guidance. Instead of punitive surveillance, the eye here is seen as a beacon of wisdom, helping us to stay the course in the right direction. In Buddhism, the pursuit of truth is intrinsically linked to the concept of enlightenment, and the awakening of the inner eye is a common metaphor for this process. Buddha, in many teachings, speaks about the importance of seeing the truth, not with the physical eyes, but with the eyes of the mind and higher consciousness. The all-seeing eye, in this sense, is a symbol of this awakening to the true nature of reality. It reminds us that the path to enlightenment is not about accumulating more information or intellectual knowledge, but about opening oneself to a direct and profound perception of the truth. This awakening is often described as a healing process. When we begin to see with the spiritual eye, we realize that much of the suffering we experience is caused by our own inability to see reality as it is. Illusion keeps us trapped in cycles of fear, attachment, and desire. But the all-seeing eye shows us that there is a greater truth that transcends these cycles. Healing, then, occurs when we allow ourselves to see beyond illusions and connect with the universal wisdom that is always available to us. For many, the all-seeing eye also symbolizes the responsibility we have upon reaching this level of perception. When we awaken to the truth, we can no longer ignore the parts of ourselves that need transformation. The eye is a constant reminder that, as we see more clearly, we are also called to act more consciously and responsibly. Truth demands action, and the awakening of consciousness puts us on a path where we can no longer return to comfortable ignorance. From the moment we see, we are obliged to move forward with integrity and courage. Therefore, the all-seeing eye, when considered as a spiritual guide, not only observes us, but also leads us towards truth, clarity, and purpose. It calls us to be more aware of ourselves, to embrace our spiritual journey with responsibility, and to connect with the divine that dwells within us and around us. By following the gaze of this eye, we discover that true spiritual awakening is not something that happens outside of us, but within, and that the truth we seek is always available for those who have the courage to see. Throughout history, the symbol of the all-seeing eye has traversed a vast and complex path, taking on different forms and meanings according to cultures and eras. From its ancient roots in Egypt to modern esoteric and spiritual interpretations, it continues to fascinate and intrigue. However, what can we conclude about the universal meaning of this symbol? How does it resonate with each of us, regardless of beliefs or cultural contexts? In its essence, the all-seeing eye can be understood as a symbol of perception. It represents the ability to see beyond the obvious, to understand realities that are not immediately accessible to our physical senses. This perception transcends the simple act of seeing with the eyes, referring to a broader vision, spiritual, intellectual, and emotional. The eye reminds us that there is always more happening than what we can perceive at first glance, inviting us to explore the invisible and the unknown. From this perspective, the all-seeing eye connects to a universal truth, the quest for understanding and clarity. All of us, at some level, are on a journey to find answers, to discover what lies beyond appearances and the limitations imposed by our everyday perception. Whether through science, philosophy, or spirituality, the human desire to see the truth is a common force driving individual and collective development. The eye, therefore, reminds us that this pursuit is not only external, it is above all an internal quest, a process of awakening to who we truly are and what reality signifies in its entirety. Furthermore, the all-seeing eye has a strong symbolic component related to surveillance. However, this surveillance can be interpreted in very different ways. On one hand, it is seen as a symbol of control and oppression, especially in the modern world, where the feeling of being constantly watched generates fear and distrust. But on the other hand, the eye can be seen as a symbol of protection, of a greater force that looks after us, ensuring that we are being taken care of, even if we cannot see this force directly. The duality of the all-seeing eye reflects the very duality of human experience. Just as the symbol can represent both enlightenment and oppression, each of us is capable of perceiving and experiencing life under these different aspects. Often we are caught between fear and hope, between control and freedom. The eye, then, is an invitation to choose how we will interpret this surveillance. Are we being controlled by invisible forces? Or are we being guided and protected by a greater wisdom? The answer may ultimately lie in how we choose to see the world around us. When we consider the eye as a spiritual guide, it reminds us of the importance of responsibility and awareness. Seeing the truth means not only recognizing what is wrong or unbalanced, but also acknowledging what needs to be transformed within us. The all-seeing eye challenges us to be more aware of our choices and actions, knowing that we are constantly creating our reality based on what we perceive and believe to be true. In this sense, the eye becomes a symbol of self-awareness and of a journey that is, at the same time, individual and collective. What is fascinating about the all-seeing eye is its ability to traverse different cultures and traditions, maintaining a core of common meaning. In ancient Egypt, it was a symbol of protection and divine power. In Western esoteric traditions, it represents cosmic consciousness and spiritual awakening. And in the modern world, it has been associated with both control and knowledge. Despite variations in interpretation, the eye has always been seen as something that transcends the mundane, a symbol pointing towards what is beyond the visible, the known. For those seeking the truth, the all-seeing eye is a reminder that knowledge cannot simply be learned, it must be experienced. The eye is a representation of intuitive wisdom, the kind that comes from within, and can only be accessed when we open our mind and soul to new perceptions. It's a symbol that calls us to action, not to passively observe, but to actively seek the truth that lies beyond the illusions and distortions of reality. At the same time, the eye teaches us about the importance of acceptance. Seeing the truth, in many cases, is confronting what we do not want to see, our flaws, our limitations, and the painful realities we prefer to ignore. The all-seeing eye encourages us to accept these truths, not to run from them, for it is only through acceptance that we can truly transform ourselves. Clear vision, therefore, is not just a gift, but a responsibility that carries with it the need to act with wisdom and compassion. Finally, the universal meaning of the all-seeing eye lies in its ability to connect us with something greater. For many, it is a symbol of the divine, of a loving presence that guides us, that watches over us not with judgment, but with compassion. For others, it is a symbol of personal power, of our ability to awaken our own consciousness and see the truth for ourselves. Regardless of the interpretation, the eye continues to remind us that the truth is always within our reach, waiting to be seen, waiting to be understood. Thus, as we conclude this journey of exploration about the all-seeing eye, the question that remains is, how do you choose to see the world around you? The eye can represent many things: surveillance, power, wisdom, control. But ultimately, it is a mirror that reflects back to you what you are willing to see. The truth is before us, always present, always accessible. All we need to do is open our eyes and look. And now, Mind Unfettered, we want to hear from you. What's your interpretation of the all-seeing eye? Do you see it as a symbol of spiritual awakening or control? Share your perspective in the comments. Remember, by sharing your ideas, you're also helping to create a collective manifestation of knowledge and awakening. Let's build this network of wisdom together. And if you're ready to continue this profound spiritual journey, don't stop here. The next video on your screen, The Hidden Secrets of Nag Hammadi, the truth about creation and spiritual awakening revealed, will take you even further. Discover the hidden truths of the Gnostic texts and how they can transform your understanding of creation and the awakening of consciousness. Click now and continue your evolution.